Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Fitness Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Fitness Podcast.
Wait.
This is Jordan
Are
Gonzalez.
we recording?
Yeah, that's recording.
Okay, cool. I thought you said you hadn't done that yet.
Oh, no.
I was like, wait.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things. I told you, it's like you got to get this and that and this and those knobs and get that checked out. So it's, 100%.
This is why some people build podcast studios.
Right. This is exactly right, dude. And the day I have one, I will have gratitude. Every day I walk in, I'll have gratitude.
Yeah, just the mics are set up. We're good.
Yeah, we'll just sit down and hit record and get after it. Guys, welcome to the Big Fitness Podcast. We're here with Sean Lane.
What's up,
Because today, say hello to the crowd.
Hello, crowd.
Absolutely, dude. Well, hey, dude, thanks for coming on today.
Of course.
Hey, man. So today we are going to get into the 10 ways to increase muscular strength, and then maybe talk a little bit about why people get after building strength and don't hit it. Like they're like, man, I keep coming into the gym, I keep on getting after it, I've been in consistently, and for some reason I may be even seeing strength loss. And there's a lot of different reasons that might be causing a strength loss when you're trying to hit the gym. And so I want to go into that up front. What do you think, man, in terms of like, what is the number one way people, you know what? Let's actually start with, but before I start asking those questions.
I mean, I can give you where you're going with that question.
Yeah.
The two simple answers are no one knows how to do a deload.
Yeah.
And people try to max out too much.
Gotcha. So these are two things that, like, I think a lot of people will relate to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know it's crazy, but I have clients that they want to see 5 pounds increase every single time they come in. And then eventually,
Yeah, that works for like 6 months.
right. And then it's
Being brand new.
Right. Being brand new. That's exactly right. And then it's like, okay, now once it stops, they're like, oh man, like I'm not winning because I'm not seeing any more strength gains. And it's like, we have to like come back. And then they think you're kind of like destroying their program because, you're telling them to like not do as much.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've got to kind of explain that to them. So that's why I wanted to have you on. And that's why I wanted to go through these ways. So the 10 ways to increase strength, we're going to start with number 1. Incorporate periodization into your training, alternating between high volume and high intensity phases. What does that mean to you?
I mean, one of the reasons I think people mess that up the most is, unlike how this question is stated, volume and intensity aren't inverses. Like, so many people are like, oh, I'm just going to do super low weight and super high volume, and then immediately go right back into, cool, I'm going to do heavy doubles, triples, and singles again. It's like, hey, intensity isn't just the weight on the bar. Like, an RPE9 is an RPE9 no matter the rep range. Like, that's your intensity.
Yeah.
So I think more people need to understand, like, why they're doing what they're doing and why they're in what rep ranges.
Yeah. And what do you think RPE even means to somebody? Do you think RPE is a good indication of intensity for people? And for all those who don't know, RPE is rate of perceived exertion, which means, and it's a scale that a lot of fitness instructors use, strength coaches use to get an idea of what your where your perceived effort is, which is basically on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being so easy that like, you could do the weight that you're doing for like, the next couple hours. 10 being so hard that like you're literally like eyes are exploding out of your head.
It's the max lift you can do for either that rep range or single. Like,
yeah. And when you're talking about, when you talk about RP at a certain rep range, it's like if you're at an RP9 at 6 reps or 1 to 6 reps, that's technically where you're going to find strength, even though strength really is just a 1 rep. That's like real strength.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if we're saying max strength.
So
I normally switch it to max strength versus just increasing strength.
Yeah. Agreed. And so if you do an RP9 at 1 to 6 reps, that technically is going to get the adaptation of strength.
Yes, but that's where
What's up?
You and I might argue about
No. Bring it up. That's why I wanted you on.
That's one of my issues with most certification textbooks is they'll say like, oh yeah, like you want to be at an RP9, 1 to 6 reps, blah, blah, blah. If you have someone do 3 weeks in a row of RP9, I don't give a shit what the rep range is. They're gonna break eventually.
Yeah.
So like this is why periodization should be more. Periodization can't just be I'm sending it every single day. It's like, cool, like this is for this. This is like, this general is endurance, hypertrophy, strength. But there's a reason that they're only about 4 to 6 week blocks.
1 second, dude. I'm gonna get my sunglasses because, folks, I have like a weird thing on my eye, and it's like irritating me. And I'm gonna put my sunglasses on while we do this. So give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. It's just like it's annoying the shit out of me,
That makes sense.
and my face is like twitching. So I'm just gonna hide my face then.
Probably because it's annoying you because you like can feel it twitching. You're like, everyone can see it.
Yeah, that too. And we're actually on YouTube now. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. We're back at it. So again, incorporating periodization into your training, alternating between high volume and high intensity phases. So to your point, it's like you can't just stay at let's say a RP9 at 1 rep every time you come in. You have to alternate to changing either the intensity or the rep range volume. And so, like what you're saying is that, like, to increase strength, it's not let's stay at that. Let's stay at an RP9 at 6 reps and just always try to increase the weight.
Yeah, because if you do that for too long, like you're gonna end up broken.
And what do you mean by that?
Okay, broken is being a little dramatic. You could lead to an injury, or progress just starts dumping off. Like it'll 2-3 weeks of like really good, and then all of a sudden you can't hit 80% of what you were doing, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
And because we're personal trainers, we then get looked at on like, what did you do wrong?
Right. And what's causing that drop off, do you think?
Overstimulus.
Yeah.
Like you're not recovering from it. So
Yeah, it's like you're not your body has to, like, your muscles have to like repair. You're just constantly putting them under all this pressure. And this is also where like diet, and I'm sure this is going to come up, but that's where like diet then in the back end is also an important part of this. So that's it, folks. So don't just stay on one thing. Don't just stay on one rep range, one intensity, and just constantly try to show up and just keep. You have to alternate these volumes and these intensities, giving yourself like every 4th week kind of
you need days that are supposed to be easy, where like you actually walk out of the gym feeling better than when you walked in. But then there's going to be days that like, hey, I'm going to push real hard and I'm going to walk out pretty messed up.
Yeah.
So,
no,
but it's got to be intentional.
So on to the next is focus on progressive overload by gradually increasing weight.
Like, why do people do this wrong?
No, not why do people do
okay.
So there's 10, this is 10 ways to so I know, because like, guys, by the way, we're kind of going with the 10 ways to increase muscular strength, and then like what are the common reasons why people don't do these things is what I'm asking Sean. And so like focusing on progressive overload by gradually increasing weight. I think this is like people are afraid to fail. So for example, like progressive overload is like putting more on than you can do, let's say. So you can't be afraid to fail on a rep. So it's like you're going at 6 reps at an RP9, and you're like, man, that last one was maybe like an 8, 9, and then you throw an RP10 on there without thinking about it, but you're just like, look, when the fire's burning, I'm gonna roast those marshmallows. So you get under that bar, and you achieve failure.
Yeah, I mean, most people want more muscle, because especially as a society, we are very under muscled anyways. To promote muscle growth, you need to be close to or to at failure. So like if you're afraid to fail, like you're gonna limit what you can do. But also like people that are really afraid to like fail, cool, add another set. That's also progressive overload. Shorten your rest time, also progressive overload. It's not just going heavier. Going heavier is, in my opinion, the more fun one, because washed up strength athlete. But
no, dude, I had a guy, literally, this dude, he was like 225 pounds. I worked at this strongman gym back home. And he was like, I'm going to try to pick up this big sandbag that's like 240 pounds. And this dude's named Josh Turner, by the way. He's a strongman competitor. He picks up this, he's like, take a video of me, picks up this 240-pound bag and he like walks it across however many 50 meters or whatever it was.
Mhm.
He drops it. He's so fucking happy. This big, massive hulk of a dude. He runs at me. I still weigh about 185 pounds. He throws me up with one arm onto his shoulders and runs me down the gym. And I've never felt so safe in my life. Like, dude, I was like, God damn it. Like, I was manhandled by this person at 185 pounds. He had no, like, if I ever wanted to do anything, I couldn't even.
No.
This dude was just so strong. And he told me this before. And he tells everyone this story. So this is not me, like, giving any information he wouldn't tell you himself. But he had, like, an addiction. He had, like, I believe it was a meth addiction. It was, that's like the upper.
Yeah.
He's like long time got rid of that. But, like, he was like a little string bean, and he showed me pictures of him when he was like my age, you know, like little string bean. This dude's like probably like early 50s now, but like he was just a little string bean kid. Now he's like this big, massive dude. And he was like, and I was like, how do you get that? How do you go from that little string bean dude, like, you know, 25 to 30 years old, to like this massive dude picking up a 240-pound sandbag, you know, like pulling trucks and shit in these like sanctioned strongman competitions. And he's like, man, what's the program, basically, is what I was saying. And he was like, man, look, I come in here and I lift weight until I can't.
Yeah.
I put weight on that bar every day until I can't, and I just keep coming in. And he's like, I do take weeks off, but like when I'm in here, I just put weight on until I fail almost every time. Now, he's been injured quite a bit. This is a this is a guy who just won't. This isn't like, you know, this is kind of just take the principle, like the overload principle, but like,
Yeah.
to your point, if you keep doing that, you're gonna get injured, you know? So he's been injured quite a bit, but he's like, I just kept doing that. I've been doing that for the past 30 years, and, you know, here I am now.
I mean,
and
effort trumps everything.
everything
we
is,
do.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Which is like, if you're a dumb fuck, by the way, folks, like,
effort.
effort.
That's it.
That's the that's like, if you can just totally just shut off the brain and like and push into it, if you're one of those people who can literally just put the effort in. But like that comes with the risk of injury, right? Like,
yeah, going balls to the wall will work. It's just not long term the smartest. But also, like, you know, if you're trying to be the best you possibly can at something,
yeah,
health isn't your priority anymore. General fitness of like, I'd like to lose weight and be stronger. Cool. Let's be smart.
right. This is, by the way, folks, this is like, he competes in strongman, so it's always going to be different. And to your point, like, this is not longevity.
Yes.
But like principle, you need to push yourself to failure. That is the progressive overload.
Like when I was weightlifting, I wasn't the healthiest version of me. I was the best weightlifter version of me at the time. Like, that's not the healthiest. Got really good at 2 movements.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, man. When I was trying to put up like as much weight as I could, 245 pounds was the heaviest like clean and jerk I've ever done. And then when I lost feeling in my left quad, I sort of backed off. I mean, when I lost full feeling on my left quad and I needed to like figure that out, like it was my back, like I had some inflammation and a pinched subcutaneous from
You
one
don't
nerve.
need a quad. It doesn't do shit.
That's what I'm saying. I kept lifting through it.
My left one's pretty stupid, so it's fine. You know, I feel like you don't need them.
But yeah, I again, it's not about health at some degree. At some level, it is just about like pushing to the pinnacle of what you can reach, and you are willing to pay the price for that. And the price is, at a lot of times, is going to be injury along the way. But like longevity health, it's like take the principle of overload and make sure that if you're stagnant. And you tell me what you think on this, but if you're stagnant, if you plateau, it's probably not because you don't have the right program. It's because you're not going heavy enough. You're not like increasing your load.
Yeah. Well, okay. So since we never actually answered is RP good for most people?
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is actually a great way of doing it. Most people don't know what an RP 10 or an RP 9 actually feels like. So it's hard to use that as a judge.
Right.
Most people, until they're probably 6 to 9 months in, I don't know if RP is going to be the most like reliable. Like, am I allowed to mention certain clients?
Oh, I wouldn't say by name, but just say a client.
Okay. A client on Monday literally like dumbbell press more than he ever has. And he's like, oh, I didn't think I could do that. And I was like, I knew you could. And he was like, well, how did you know? And I was like, because I've watched your last sets the last few weeks. Like, and he's like, oh, I was like, honestly, next week we're going heavier. It wasn't as hard as you're making it sound right now. He's like, okay, interesting. So,
Huh? How did you know that?
uh, I hate the answer of I've been doing this a long time, but I've been doing it a long time. His rep 1 and his final rep looked almost the same speed.
Mm,
That's not an RP 8 or 9 at that point.
yeah.
Like there should be a little bit of a slowdown.
Kind of like an introspective understanding of like what effort looks like out of somebody when you've
Yeah.
been training people. I definitely agree with that. And it is like it is like a hard thing to explain because you've just watched people so many
Yeah.
times in their movement. This is also why it's important to have a coach.
Yeah.
Somebody who's been doing it for a long time, because they just know when to call your bullshit and when it's like, okay, this really is an RP 9. This was hard when like people were mass. I watch people's mannerisms or face a lot
Yeah.
to let me know like whether or not the RP is right. You can do this without, but
I
it was
try to
hard.
not use face because some people can be real expressive and
Really,
like
yeah.
oversell it.
Yeah.
I try to watch torso, and like if it's squatting, I try to watch hips.
And to your point, speed like
Yeah.
a true RP like 8-9 is like
It slows down.
it slows down,
Like-
and you can watch the body like exerting that effort
Yeah.
to make that happen. So that's totally 100% true. So number 3, implement accessory exercises that target weak points in your lifts.
Sometimes you have to do the ones you don't like.
What
Just throwing that out there. Most people like accessories, people are like, I'm gonna do the things I like. Like if they like barbell flat bench, they probably like dumbbell flat bench.
Yeah.
Well, if your triceps are what's weak, maybe go make sure you hit your triceps or your shoulders. But like more people tend to do what they like to do. Make sure you're hitting the things that are actually the problem.
Dude, to your point on this is so true. To your point in this, I had a client once, maybe about 4 years ago, that, and she quit because of this. By the way, she quit because of this, which is wild. But like we focused on our weaknesses. If you're weak in an area, I'm gonna throw in things that you're weak at. You know, like you can do the things that you like on your own. We can program that in.
Yeah.
You're not gonna need me to like put you through the things that you don't like to do. So I was having her do things. This is so funny too, because I got a client that says this, and I'll explain later. But in any case, like she didn't like these workouts, these exercises that I was running her through, but she needed to do them to get stronger. And she goes, and one day she goes, man, like I hate doing these things. Why do you make me do things I hate? This doesn't make sense. Aren't you supposed to like do the things that I like? Isn't that like your job? And I said,
No.
that's actually absolutely not my job.
That said, my trick that I've done that, I'll give them something they like, and then they have to do 2 things they don't like. Because I'm like, I gave you what you like.
Yeah.
Cool. I also make it typically smaller, unless it's beneficial. I'll make it like less time of my session. Be like, cool, we did that. All right, let's go do what you need to.
No, right. Yeah. And like, dude, I wasn't doing that. I was just giving her all the shit she needed. And she was like, fuck you, man. And she stopped training with me. But I was like, dude, look, like these are the things you needed to do. Like you can do the things that you want to do on your own. In any case, like on Sundays, I'll do like a morning workout with a couple of clients, and one of my clients, like he hates doing the sled. Not a big fan of the sled. And we're pushing the sled, and he's like, fuck, what? He's like, you never do a workout without using the sled. And then one of the other guys that's there was like, yeah, that's kind of like what my 10-year-old says. Like sometimes, or when my 10-year-old was 5, I would like put something, you know, we'd even put like vegetables on his plate, and he would say, but that's not my favorite. But that's not my favorite. So like now it's like a running joke in the gym when I like, I'll be like, all right, we got sled on this one. And he just goes, but that's not my favorite.
It's also funny. He comes to these free extra Sunday workouts at
7 a.m. Yeah.
knowing that there's going to be a sled, and it's like,
Hell.
can't believe there's sled. It's been weeks, buddy. You know the sled's coming.
Yeah, I don't do a workout without the sled. If it's an upper body day, if it's a lower body day, if it's a core day, fuck if it's a rest day, we're doing sled, you know? So that is funny. But yeah, you've got to work on, you've got to make sure that you're doing the things you don't like to do. It's like if you don't like doing a thing, it's probably because you are weak at that thing.
Yeah.
So it's something that
People
you
like
can
to
do.
do what they're good at. They don't like to do things that they're not good at.
Right. So make sure that you're implementing those accessory exercises. And what's also interesting, here's an interesting thing we went over on Friday, which is just like kind of something I want to throw in the podcast for everyone is that like, if you're having trouble, let's say you're doing squats. So we talked about this specific anecdote. So let's say you're doing squats and for some reason your glutes are not firing, right? Let's just say your glutes are not firing because you're on your toes and your quads are taking over. There's something called a pre-exhaustion set. So it's like doing an isolated exercise on the overcompensating muscle, which is this is actually counterintuitive to the way I usually think because
Yeah.
you're increasing communication to like the overcompensating muscle. But in any case, you take your quads and you just leg extension those quads until they're fully burned out. You give it almost no break, and then you throw the bar on your back,
Mm-hmm.
and your weight's going to definitely come down on the back squat. But then you'll sit back on your heels is the idea, and your glutes will take over because they're not as taxed as the quads, and so it's kind of a way that you can get into a muscle group that's weak, even though
Yeah. I
they're-
understand like the theory and everything behind it.
What's your thoughts on that, actually?
If you're on your toes, let's fix your positioning.
Yeah.
Well, fix positioning first. But there are quad dominant squatters that need more glute development, even with good technique. It's like, all right, cool. Well, if we've tried other things, why not try it? So
What are some ways? 'Cause this is a common. I actually find that this is a common weakness in people who are squatting is their glute activation and not sitting back on their heels. Man, what do you think are ways? Just for the people listening in, what do you think are some ways, some techniques you can get them to start activating their glutes in that squat? I've got a couple ways, but I'd like to know kind of your.
I was like, you can do like a standard like glute warm up to where you're doing like have a hip circle on,
Mm.
do like a couple sets of bridges and like monster walks. That typically gets people feeling their glute, but then after that, like, hey, if they're just sitting in their quads, they probably just need to actually sit back a little farther. So many people are taught like your chest has to be completely vertical. Most people aren't built to squat with their chest completely vertical. Like there's going to be a little bit of a forward lean. That's cool. Use that, sit back in your hips a little bit, actually load your glutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like I'll have them like in between sets even do like a 30-second glute raise and like switch alternating, you know what I mean, one leg over the other just to like
Yeah.
get that glute like just so they can feel the glute. So a lot of times it's just like I say squeeze your glutes, sit back on your heel a little more, put the weight in the middle of your foot, and they do none of that.
I also, this is slightly counterproductive for being a more professional thing. I'll just say squeeze your ass. Because like for some reason you say ass instead of glute, they're like, oh, cool, squeeze my butt, got it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Actually.
It's not the most textbook professional, but like, if it works, I'm using it.
Yeah, dude, we do things a little unorthodox here in Big Fitness. No, I feel you though, 100%. And cueing is so important,
Yeah.
and people take cues differently. We had a yoga instructor who was a fucking killer. She's gone now, obviously, but I think she's in Fiji. Was the last time.
Okay.
It seems like by the way, I have had a trainer leave because she moved to Australia, a yoga instructor move because she went to Australia. Both of their names are Sarah, which is wild. And then I had another yoga instructor move to yoga instructor / trainer move to Washington, and then one move to who am I thinking?
I don't know. I thought both Sarahs were the same person. I didn't realize there was two different Sarahs.
Two different Sarahs, yeah, two different Sarahs. Oh, Fiji, yeah, Fiji. So the one that I'm talking about.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the one that brought it up. So it's like if you're a yoga instructor, chances are you're moving to like Fiji or Australia or Washington.
They are the modern day nomads.
Yeah, dude. Seriously, that is the truest thing. I don't. That is the truest thing I've ever heard. Like they do, man. They've got no, and this is I think maybe just something with their spirit or something with their personality, but they are not loyal to any one entity of any kind. They will just move about as time goes, which is good. Good. Fuck yeah.
Follow your heart.
Follow your heart. Absolutely. So that was number 3. Number 4 is that's number 4. Number 5, ensure sufficient rest and recovery, allowing your central nervous system to adapt. So this piggybacks off of why you should change up and alternate high volume to high intensity phases is because you're not getting any rest on your central nervous system, and too much on your central nervous system is going to start working things backwards.
Yeah.
So like overtraining. And this is why you need to be shifting your intensities.
I mean, not even just shifting intensities at that point, but like, you need like everyone should be on at least a halfway decently thought out program because they'll account for this. Like, you don't need a program that's going to have you maxing out a deadlift on a Friday and then come Monday try to do a 95% squat.
Yeah.
Like, that math doesn't sound right. If you're doing it, it better be for a very specific, like, I'm trying to get this out of it. But like, that can't be a regular thing.
Yeah, and that's even actually, to your point, that's all the way down into the actual workout itself. Like
Yeah.
a lot of clients, like when they come in, they kind of think that like they're trying to PR on every single exercise, the entire workout from start to finish. And it's like sometimes like you've got to kind of coach them back on the back end. It's like, look, the focus here is squat today. Everything accessory wise can be like an 8 to 9 RPE, but that means that the RPE of 9 at this rep range might be significantly lower because you just put all your effort into,
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you're going to always PR on every single exercise. You need to kind of allow yourself rest breaks even in between exercises, so it's like allowing sufficient rest. And they say, so this will be from the book, and then we'll see what your thoughts are. But I'm sure that this is probably going to be, I mean, this is pretty standard. But if you're doing a true strength program in between single sets of RP9s, between reps of 1 to 6,
Mhm.
they say about 2.5 minutes to 5 minutes in between sets for sufficient rest to see that strength. What's your thoughts?
2 to 3 gives you basically a completely full like rebuild of your ATP. 5,
That is so much time.
it's a lot of time. It seems like a lot of people either use that time because like they need it mentally, which is fine. But most physically, it seems like honestly 3.5 minutes is more than enough.
Yeah.
Also, environment greatly changes that. If you're lifting by yourself, like you'll probably do totally fine with a 2 to 3. If you're lifting with a group or like on like a weightlifting team or something like that, you're probably going to take longer because there's also the social aspect, which also then helps hype you up for the next lift.
And that's got to be like a 2-hour lifting session.
Most of the time, yeah. It's like
Yeah,
two, 2.5 hours.
It's got to be 2.5 hours. Because, like, dude, 5 minutes,
Yeah.
even 3 minutes is a lot of time. If you think about it, like, dude, if you do 3 sets, that's 15 minutes of rest.
Yeah.
That's so much.
For a lift that takes maybe 20 seconds.
Right. That is so much time.
Yeah.
But so I've always thought like 3 minutes is fine.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, they say up to
Like
5 minutes.
Science, like ATP is fully recovered in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So anything after that is more personal or mental than it is actually physical responses.
Yeah, 100%. So that's number 5, folks. So ensuring sufficient rest and recovery, allowing central nervous system to adapt. On the back end, before we move to the next one, I will say one more thing about this on why it's important to like have rest breaks. Have like whole weeks of like I'm gonna do 50%. Just to allow, and I'm gonna focus on the food and the hydration and letting my body like not feel like I'm running from a fucking a saber-toothed tiger. Is like you constantly have this cortisol running through the body. And if you're stressed throughout the day, you come in here to work out, you increase the stress on your body because now you like are destroying muscle. If you perpetuate that stress throughout the day, and then you come in the next day and do it, the next day and do it, the next day, and weeks of that, and that's going to make you weaker. It's imagine like I guess the best way to put this is you don't get stronger in the gym. You get stronger outside of the gym when you like eat food and recover with protein and all that shit. So imagine you just stayed in the gym and you just worked out nonstop. Imagine you just never left the gym. Just for weeks, you just kept working out. Like you usually leave the gym weaker than you came in because you just like destroyed your body.
Yeah.
So like in the gym itself, you're actually meant to like destroy the body. And so if you just keep destroying the body, it's like grinding something to a pulp. So it's like if you just keep grinding, eventually you'll wear into nothing. And so you got to kind of give some time. I'm just trying to illustrate this in a way that sort of makes sense a little bit more on like why it's important to get rest. Is like you get stronger outside the gym. So you've
Yeah.
got to give your body time to get to repair itself, to recover, and so that you actually see those strength gains and you come back in here, beat the fucking body up again. Because everything in this gym is really built to like destroy you.
Yeah,
Like everything you
it
look at.
cortisol is cortisol. Like your
Yeah.
body registers all stress as cortisol, whether it's family stress, work stress, gym stress, because yes, as we just said, lifting is a stress response. Trying to tell the body to stimulate and grow so you can do more, but still a stress response. So if all we're doing is increasing the stress, we never actually get to the rebuild phase.
Yeah, 100%. So make sure that you're getting that rest and recovery. Number 6, vary your training techniques like using bands, chains, pauses, different tempos. Introduce new stimuli to the muscle. Thoughts? Because there's a lot. Yeah. What are your thoughts on like bands, chains? I always see this stuff and I'm like, just a barbell will do.
So bands and chains are all for accommodating resistance. They're cool when used properly. You'll also see a lot of people in gyms use them just to use them.
Right for shits.
But like honestly, I like bands more than I like chains. Just I also don't have the most experience with chains. Um, Tempos and pauses, everyone should do those. Like that should be something in your back pocket all the time. If a technique starts going wrong, let's slow it down. Let's tempo it. Oh, cool. Like I'm messing up a certain point. Well, here's a pause. Bands are cool if you're needing a new stimulus, or hey, I need this part, like the top part of your lift, to be a little harder so that you do the bottom part right. Like something like that. Like recently I had a client who they just weren't using their hips for their deadlift. I was like, all right, cool. We'll just do banded, like push off the floor, understand good position, and then finish hard with your hips. I'm gonna make it heavier at the top. She's like, how are you gonna do that? I was like, here's bands.
Yeah.
So
And you see this a lot. Like once people start really hitting the pinnacle of that, like 6 rep or and under, and they're like, it's like, they're not just starting.
mhm.
That's when like this is I think like incorporating bands and stuff like that, like up front
Yeah,
in the beginning is
bands
kind
and
of
chains has to be later. Like
yeah,
you need solid technique even on your bad days
yeah.
before you start using things that change the resistance profile.
Yeah, this is something that comes definitely later. And throwing like dynamic resistance is important, like for stability as well. So when you're talking about like if you're seeing somebody and this is so fuck. Okay, look, because now I'm gonna contradict myself. So let's so let's actually talk about this like at a few angles. So you're talking about like, hey, we want to keep it a little bit lighter on the bottom part of that rep, or like let's say the concentric beginning of the concentric part of the rep. Let's say on like a deadlift, and then like you're strong at the top half. So like we want that dynamic resistance or resistance that increases as as the full range of motion starts
Yeah.
starts to increase, and angle increases. So basically, that's one way, and that would be like in. But if somebody has like stability issues, like really shaky through a full range of motion, like could be a communication issue. When you throw bands in, it changes the amount of load needed throughout the entire repetition. So, folks,
Mhm.
if you don't know this, so I'm not gonna bore you with it, but real quick, there are 3 phases of a repetition: concentric, isometric, and eccentric. So it's like basically like imagine for everyone watching on YouTube, if you're doing like a push up, you got your concentric, so you're basically extending the angle, and then you're holding. So you're definitely at a contraction. If you just like held weight up, you're definitely holding the contraction. That's like your pause, and then you're changing direction. Eccentric will be on the way down, so going with gravity or decreasing the angle of the joint. So you got those three phases. I can't remember why I was saying that, but in any case, if you throw a band on as you go out, let's say I'm pressing a band. As you go out, you start with 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds. So as you run through the repetition, you increase the load. That's called a dynamic resistance. It's an ever-changing resistance. And so your muscles, when you see like a lot of shaking, this isn't so much strength as it is communication. Now you can increase strength with increasing communication, but it's because there's different muscle, there's different size motor units that are being recruited. So like it's like different motor units, but it's not smooth. And so your brain is just like this one, that one, this one, this one, that one, that one, and they're different. So it's causing this jerky movement. The more you do bands, the more you increase the, let's say, flow of communication and the efficiency of communication, making that repetition a little bit more stable.
Yeah.
So like that could be something you throw in early on.
So those type of bands, like the ones that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
a straight band with the
Right.
handles on the end, aren't what I would, when I say bands, I mean like a single loop band that
I
like,
agree. Yeah. So you're talking about, I'm talking, those would be accessory movements too, by the
yeah.
way.
That said, most communication issues, like you're saying, like the jerkiness or other things, I've seen a lot more benefit having people do just a lot more eccentric work
Yeah.
than accommodating resistance with bands. It's just the loading here forces the body to be like, you kind of load all the motor units we're talking about
Yeah.
as you're going down, because it's like, oh, like you slow down a rep a lot, the brain starts thinking, oh shit, this is heavy as fuck. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important to, like, to your point, I think it's important to say to clarify where you would throw those the bands I'm talking about for the jerky movements. That's definitely going to be in the weaknesses, like the accessories and the assistant exercises. When you're doing your core lifts, I agree. Eccentrics and slow, like those slow eccentric movements, even with like progressive overload, throw like 20 pounds more on than you can do concentrically. And then just, if you have somebody to help you, just literally just do a whole set of eccentric reps. And that will definitely increase communication 100%. So there, oh, fucking son of a,
yeah, force reps become a very interesting thing.
What's that?
I said force reps like that, where like, hey, you're just going to lower it as much and then I'll just help you yank it back up, become a real interesting one, because it's
What thoughts?
50-50 on like, yo, it works really well for this person. Some people it doesn't carry over, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, now we're both real tired.
That's fucking so true.
Well, we tried.
We tried.
It's also rough because like you don't know if it works until it's like a month of doing.
Yeah,
You're like, Johnny can't do this.
Right.
Susie, it works great.
It works
great. All right, cool.
Dude, it's all trial and error.
Just all the random notes.
Yeah, it's all trial and error. I will say this: I had a client that really wanted to do pull-ups, and couldn't hang on the bar for 30 seconds, let alone do a pull-up. And in it was roughly 6 months, we got him to be able to do 10 pull-ups, body weight. And basically, what we did was, you know how we do the band assisted pull-ups, right?
Yeah.
So we had bands on bands, but we would do band pull-ups. We basically did this, and he's coming 3 times a week. 3 times a week, I was doing basically 100 pull-ups every time he came. 300 pull-ups a week. We did this for like 6 months, like religiously. Eventually, we got to where all he was doing was like he would do as many concentric pull-ups as he could, like 50, and then the last 50 would just be all eccentrics.
So like jump up and just slow
down.
Much. Yeah.
And then he did that, dude, and that was working for him, because it was like, okay, every so many weeks, like we'd get another pull-up, and it took maybe about just under six months, but he was able to do 10 pull-ups, and pull-ups are fucking hard.
Yeah.
Especially if right now, if you jump down a bar and you like didn't even have the grip strength, it's like, you're not even talking about just like the ability to pull yourself up. It's like also just like the ability to like hold on to the bar while your body is hanging.
Yeah.
So in any case, folks, eccentrics, isometrics for him worked. But then to your point, like some people, it's just like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Some people, it's like, all right, cool. We'll just really emphasize the concentric and keep going.
Dude, which is like which is like why I think it's important to have, again, I'm always going to be biased to this, but like, have a coach.
Yeah, it's what we do.
Have a coach. That's what a coach is for. It's like, because you go on Instagram and you see somebody like preaching, like just, hey, it's all about eccentrics. You're never gonna get stronger unless you throw the eccentric. Then you go and try it because this guy, you've been listening to for however long has been saying, that this is the only way to do it, and it's not working for you. And it's just like,
yeah. You just end up spinning your wheels.
You're spinning your wheels, man. And then you get into what they call the valley of despair, which is basically the bottom end of any behavior change, where like most people see like that the grass is greener on the other side, which is, oh, this is a different podcast, but it's a different podcast.
That's a whole different.
That's a whole different podcast.
But like, that's also why anytime I talk to people about like what being a personal trainer is, it's like, it's an art and a science.
Yeah.
Like the science is all the text, any textbook you grab, There you go. They will have good science. The art is the actual applying it
Yeah.
and knowing, hey, the textbook is a guideline, not a this is how you do it.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're going to start here and then we're going to figure you out like as you move through. And I always think like the first month of any personal training program is like an awareness month.
Yep.
You know, it's awareness for you, it's awareness for them. And it's like, hey, let's do a food log because you ask them, well, how you eating? And they're like, well, I think I eat good. And it's like,
You're
do you
like,
think
cool.
you eat good?
Cool. Show me.
What does that mean? So yeah, 100%. It's like straight up an awareness month. So that's why you need coaching, folks. Get out there. So next,
Or get in here.
or get in here. This is exactly
Welcome
right.
to St. Louis.
Right. Absolutely. So number 7, adjust your nutrition to support muscle growth and recovery, emphasizing protein intake. What is the importance of nutrition and strength? Sean.
I mean, it's kind of the entire thing. Like, if you want to lose weight, you're probably not also trying to pursue max strength. It's kind of two opposite spectrums. Losing weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. Building strength, you need to, at minimum, be in a maintenance, probably a slight surplus, just have a little bit of extra to actually promote growth. So,
Yeah, dude. Folks, when you come in here and you're like, I would love to build strength and lose weight, you have to understand what you're saying there. And I just had a conversation about this where it's like, if you want to build strength, you're talking about increasing your performance. And so total calories in is going to require a higher level of calories in to increase performance. Now, right now, you might already be at a surplus of calories, so good to go. And we could be like, hey, let's just work out and you keep on eating what you're eating because you're eating plenty. But if you're like, hey, I'm like paying for personal training now and it's a lot of money and I want to lose weight and gain strength. And like you're very keyed in on I want to improve my strength,
yeah.
but you're cutting calories and like for some reason you're only eating like 1,500 calories. You are not going to gain any strength, folks. That's going to be very difficult.
I
And
mean, the strength you will gain, because if you're new,
yeah. You'll gain strength.
You'll
Yeah, right.
gain for probably 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
Half of that is coming from just more muscular coordination. The other half is like, it's new stimulus. Like, they call it newbie gains for a reason. You're new at this. Like, you're going to make gains in progress. After that 9-month mark is when things get a little more interesting.
100%. That first 30 days, to your point, that first 30 days, you might increase your strength by 100%.
Yeah.
You know, like I got a client like that right now. Who has increased almost all of their lifts by over 100%. So it's like, you come in here and you're doing 65 pounds on a bar because you haven't been under a bar.
Yeah.
And then now you're doing 130 pounds.
Like, oh,
Just
cool.
just 6 weeks
Look at
later.
this. It's like, well, it's 6 weeks. It's mostly coordination and understanding how to move.
Yeah,
So.
just the biomechanics and the community and like the brain muscle communication, brain body communication, 100%. So there is that. So don't be, but eventually you're gonna plateau, and then it's gonna be like okay, and I've got that. Well, I don't really have that with one client. He's just gaining weight and he's increasing strength, and he wants the weight to go down, and it's like, and he's not happy about.
I mean, if he's gaining muscle mass, then cool.
Right.
But
So
like, if you're starting to gain body fat, hey, you're probably above maintenance a little too far.
right, and so the idea is, well, okay, here's the case. You want to see your muscle. You want to continue to see gains in your strength. Good to go. So you've been on a surplus of calories, and so you've seen that strength improvement. He's been seeing awesome strength gains, but you want to see that scale go down. Okay, so you want to see your for your body weight.
Well, I say this also comes down to, does he want body weight loss or does he want body fat loss?
Body fat loss.
If he wants body fat loss and the number on scale doesn't matter, like, you just get closer to maintenance.
Just get closer to maintenance.
And like let your body recomp. It's not the fastest or most efficient way because you're trying to serve two masters.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's the way it works. It'll go slower, but possible.
It 100% possible. It will definitely go slower though, and that's the key point. Is it will go slower. So explaining that is like, and also you have to be more like it's like you also have to be more calculated. So what I mean by that is you have to be tracking how many calories you're bringing in. If you're like, I don't like tracking, I don't want to track, but you also want to see this increased strength and decreased body weight. It's like something's gonna have to give. You're gonna have to be. You can't just guess.
Yeah.
You can't just be guessing if you want these two things. And also, you can't be like, I need this tomorrow.
Yeah. It's like, if you want this to be the thing, cool. Have you ever tracked food before? First of all, like that's where I would start. Like, because if yes, cool, you probably have a decent idea of portion control at that point. But also, like, how long has it been? Cool. If you don't want to track, I need you to track for maybe a couple weeks. Let's just see how it is. See if your estimates are right. If they're right, cool. I don't give a shit if you track. Just please make sure you get enough protein. Get enough protein. Like, we'll have a conversation based on you. This is what I need. Get that. I don't care if you track the rest. If the goal is, if your portion control is pretty decent and the goal is, I want to either maintain and build strength, or just hope to recomp, in all reality, you should just track if you want to recomp or lose body fat.
Yeah. It does suck, but I mean, to do that, but I mean, look,
It
you
sucks
don't,
for like 2 weeks.
yeah,
Most people eat within a 2 week span. Most people eat like, that is what they eat, is like that 2 week period. It'll cover everything. Most apps that let you track, like, they build a backlog of everything you already enter. So after that 2 weeks, it's real fast.
yeah, you gotta get over that hump. That's what I'm saying. You gotta do something's got to give. If you want to change, you got to change, and
Yeah.
it's like you can't guess. The more you guess, the more it's like if you don't track it, if you don't measure it, it won't improve.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. The nutrition is super important, and then the end on that is that we want to emphasize protein for strength. And I'll ask you too, but like for strength guys, I'm going to sort of, for everyone who doesn't really understand, I'm going to in the most in like the most I'm going to illustrate this in kind of a very like third grade way. But imagine the ability to create force is basically like, okay, easy as this. You've got muscle fiber 1, muscle fiber 2. Basically, there's little proteins inside these two muscle fibers that come together, like kind of like Velcro. It's called actin and myosin. And basically, we contract, we create force in these muscle fibers by these things basically binding together and pulling them together. So imagine it being like Velcro. So you've got Velcro, like the little like hooky things, and then the other ones that just have like the little mesh. What makes really strong Velcro? Like a lot more little hooks and a lot more little things, right? That's the same thing with force production. So when you're talking about density, let's say, like when you talk about increasing density in the muscle protein, you're talking about increasing the number of actin and myosin. In negatives, we connect these two in the sarcomere of these two cells, and then we pull them apart. So we contract, and then we slowly, negatives, we pull them apart. So we bind actin and myosin together, and we pull them apart, doing the most possible damage. You do more damage on negatives than you do on concentrics, because concentrics are basically your muscle fibers basically pulling each other together. So it's basically like the actin and myosin. How strong are they in binding, bringing those two muscle fibers together? And so if it's obviously more density for both, then it has more ability to create force. But but that's basically the case. So like when we clamp down and fuck that up and we destroy proteins, we need to replace them so that we can rebuild and bring more fight to each muscle fiber. So the idea of building more density means you have to make sure you're getting enough protein. And so you want to make sure you're getting protein. Like, where should you get your protein? Why is protein important? What is going on with protein?
I mean, okay, first, I think I'm going to give the third grade version of what you were just trying to say. A bigger, denser muscle can produce more force,
Right.
because there's more tissue mass.
More tissue mass.
Concentric is just shortening of the muscle. Eccentric is lengthening.
Yeah.
That's just simpler way.
Yeah.
Working out and breaking that down creates or starts the process of muscle protein synthesis. Having enough protein in the diet means that there is enough and plenty for the muscle or for the body to take in and rebuild what we just did. When it comes to getting protein, oh man, simple's better. Like, for the non-vegans, honestly, like steak and chicken are probably two of the better, like more bioavailable, like just simple, clean, easy. Yeah, just get as much as you know that you need.
Yeah.
I'm also not against if people are struggling, like, add a protein supplement. Like,
Yeah.
buy one that doesn't bother your stomach.
Yeah, when it comes to protein, I mean, the average, what they say, the average, I mean, it's roughly around like 75. It's point eight. It's point eight times your body weight in kilograms
Yeah.
in grams. That's
Yeah.
basically
Which
or one
for a
point.
lot of people ends up being about 1 gram per pound.
Yeah, and it's going to end up being anywhere from like 75 to 100 grams, roughly, depending on your body weight. That's the average.
Yeah,
And
but average also undereats.
right, right, 100%. And
Undereats protein, overeats everything else.
right, which is why it's like emphasize the protein. The protein is going to bring that density back to the muscle when you destroy it. That's what we want to do. And we can't. The thing is that our body can make fats, it can make carbs, and I say make carbs in a way that's unhealthy. Don't cut carbs. Your body will figure out a way to do it. It's called keto acids, and it happens in the liver, and that's the keto diet. That's not what we're talking about today. But in any case, you can't make proteins in the body.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you're getting all of your essential proteins from outside of the body and then bringing them in. And so make sure that you're eating at least like 75 to 100 grams of protein per day, depending on, again, just using what we just said. And then they say something like this, and I can't remember where I take this or leave this. I don't remember where I got this from, but I think it was something like, try to keep your protein intake from supplements under 30% of your total intake per day because of bioavailability.
I mean, that makes sense, but there's also some companies that put a shit ton of money into increasing bioavailability of their protein powder.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But I typically tell people don't do more than 2 protein supplements a day, but that's just over the years. I've seen clients that do more than that. Their stomach just gets a little upset.
Yeah.
Like, it just sits heavier in their stomach. So I'm like, cool. But like, that being said, there's definitely times when I would do 2. Most of the protein shakes that I was making was already double scooping. So about 50 grams of protein. If I did 2 of those, that's 100 grams of protein from a supplement. I shouldn't be trying to do another one. But I do know the times that I did, like a protein snack, like the Lennon Larry's, like protein cookies. I know if I did the 2 protein shakes and that, like the next day my stomach just felt heavy. So I was like, cool, shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But I've also had a couple clients where they don't have that problem. So
And-
they're like, is this bad? I was like, it's not ideal, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah. And I also have heard there's not so I had a registered dietitian on my we used to do like these like live talks, not the podcast. And I asked it, is there such thing as too much protein? Can you have too much protein? And their thought was, because I heard that if you bring in too much protein, then like what happens is you break down protein. Protein is like nitrogen based. It's like the one macronutrient that has nitrogen. So like that nitrogen breaks up. And then I was like, is there such thing as like a buildup of uric acid in the blood or in the liver and the kidneys because of all that broke down protein? Because if you're bringing too much protein in, like way too much, let's say. And I think that's just a myth. I don't think that actually happens.
So the little that I've looked into that, like if you could or if you can eat too much, it's such a ridiculous amount that like satiation is going to take over before you get to it. Like
Yeah.
it would be almost doubling your protein intake. And like your body's really good at getting rid of shit if it's like, oh, I don't need this. I mean, this can just go.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
That's what he said.
Vitamin C supplements. Like if it's more than your body needs, you just pee it out.
Yeah.
Like same idea. Like you'll just excrete it somehow.
Right. That's what I was saying. I was like, because the idea is that your kidneys get fucked because of all of the uric acid that it builds up with the nitrogen, and your body's trying to get rid of it all. But he said it doesn't happen. So, well, at least it's very rare, at least.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So guys, that being said,
eat your protein.
Eat your protein. Eat too much protein. Too much is better than not enough. So keep that in mind. Oh shit, man, we locked out here. All right. Number 7, analyze and refine lifting form with a coach or experienced lifter to optimize efficiency.
Yeah, that one's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Do the lift better, you get better results from it.
Why do you think people don't get a lift? Don't like get a coach or don't like lift with somebody?
Either a little bit of pride, because I've seen that one a handful of times. I worked in a corporate gym long enough that you saw it more often than not. or they lift with other people that also lift the same. There's also a little bit of body mechanics play into it. Like, I can't make you squat the exact same way I squat.
Yeah.
Your femur is as long as my leg.
Right.
We're not going to squat the same, and that's fine. But if it's not someone that works with people or has worked with a bunch of people, like, you know, like they're going to make them just, this is how I do it.
Yeah, guys. And by the way, like, you might be thinking you're doing it right because you saw something on Instagram and then you're like, I'm going to go to the gym and I don't need a coach. And then you're not getting any strength gains. Let me show you what I've seen a lot of in 11 years of working inside of gym. Just this.
I mean, if you want to do sissy squats, sure. But even for a sissy squat, that's not good. Also, there needs to be a better name. Yeah. Yeah. We're a very anterior dominant society. Why do people like training biceps more than triceps? Because they can see them.
Hey, you know what? That's funny. That's a good point. That's a great point. Anyways, so maybe have a coach watch you.
Yeah.
Or an experienced lifter. Just have your buddy who's like lifting 1,000 pounds somehow.
I mean, there's also like an in-person coach is phenomenal because they can make corrections and see everything then. Online's also great because like video reviews are a great thing. So like if you need someone, like find someone. They're out there.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like they're like, I mean, shit, even just like signing up for a first workout, most fitness places you give you like either like cheap like workshops or like free first workout assessments, just
Almost
like
every place does a free first workout.
of some kind.
The smart thing to do is whatever first workout you do, no matter where it is, be like, hey, this is what I want to work on because
Yeah.
this is where I'm uncomfortable. Like if you aren't comfortable squatting, hey, sign up for a first workout and be like, I would like you to show me how to squat better. Cool.
That's exactly
But
right.
like use it to your advantage. Don't just use it. It's not just a sales thing. Like it is meant for you to get help.
Well, like hopefully if you do it, if done correctly, like the fitness professionals are literally just there to give you the most personal value possible. So if you go into a place and you have no fucking clue how to do a squat and like that's what you really want, you need to make that clear to the professional that you're in front of that like to your point, Sean, like, hey, I have no idea how to squat. Like, let me, as opposed to what I would get a lot of is I'll have somebody come in, they'll tell me they're fucking great at everything. They just, XYZ, like they're strong, they know their bodies, they're in tune with everything. And then I bring them out to the floor and none of that was true. Like I'm not even sure exactly why they went through that spiel when like I then now am seeing them like totally fucked.
Yeah, it's like, are you convincing yourself or convincing me?
Right. Well, I don't, and it's like, and then like the whole time they're just like, I don't really understand why I'm so beat up. I'm usually like fitter than like 90% of the world. And like, it's like, don't have to say that. Just, you're here for me to help you. So you don't have to be vulnerable, but just open up with me, man. Let me know what you need. Let me know what you need so I can provide that for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So just tell those professionals exactly what it is, and you're going to be so much further along. And one last thing on this is, I ran a strength and conditioning program for a football team for a high school football team with 96 athletes, like when I was 23 years old. And and one thing was I had to hire two people. No, I didn't hire them, but I had them. I was able to pay them and I was able to put them on payroll to bring them with me. They're out of the gym that I was training out of that I used sort of to get this program. Long story short, we're in there, and the reason for having them was to go hard on like squats, deadlifts, and I was having them do cleans. I would probably not do that now, just because of the amount of kids and like the adults that were there, the coaches, they had no idea how to do it. So we didn't have a lot of eyes on the kids.
I would just put one of the coaches on cleans. Like
Well,
that's your job. Just stay there.
That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. That's why I brought this coach on and myself, because I was like, oh shit, like these adults who are supposed to be running this, like who are supposed to be helping me, they have no idea themselves how to do it. In any case,
Good thing those kids are indestructible at that age.
right, and that's the gig, dude. That's really the gig. That's why there's like those coaches are so like because they're just like, oh, these kids will be fine. But you're watching some of this form and you're like, oh my god, how are we gonna like personal train all of these kids doing these cleans in this room? Uh, and so, in any case, I brought them on. And some of these kids got really good at cleaning. Like their movement patterns were so good because we had like this. I was able to get these coaches in, and I was like, man, I wish I had that when I was younger, man. I wish I had like people that came in and watched me. And then one of these kids started personal training with me. They were like, "Hey, like I love what you're doing at the gym, so I like to like
Mhm.
actually just work with you at the personal training gym that I worked at." It was an actual gym. It wasn't a personal training gym. It was actual, just like open like gym.
Mhm.
In any case, like then that person was working with me, got so freaking good, so good. I mean, this kid was killer, and I was like, man, I wish I had that when I was younger. If I was younger, like, cause this kid was in high school and he was getting personal training.
Mhm.
And this kid was well off. I'll say that he rolled up in like a fucking convertible Mustang that he bought himself, and
Yeah.
and he's a good kid. But in any case, uh, I wish I had that because I was like, dude, this kid is so like you watch him working with me compared to all the other kids, and he's like so far ahead of everyone else. And it's like, man, what just having a pair of eyes on you and like personal form correction and analysis and whatever,
Yeah.
technique and cues helps you just get so much more efficient and move so much faster along when it comes to biomechanics. But in any case, I had to get that story done. All right, so you know what? Like this one, we're gonna fly through this one because we've talked about this, man. This one can pop back up. So incorporate deload weeks to allow your body to recover fully and prevent burnout. We talked about this 2 times through. Your deload week should be like every third to fourth week.
I would say 4 to 5.
4 to 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it also depends, I would say, we'll say 3 to 5, every 3 to 5 weeks, you say,
Yeah.
but like, cause I think that doesn't really matter as long as you do incorporate them eventually. And it depends on person. It also depends on like, if you're intermediate, if you're a beginner, or if you're like somebody who's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
So only reason I say week 4 or 5, I do like doing programming 6-week periods versus a month, and then it gives me 1 to 2 extra weeks of still pushing that same program. If I go week 3, well, week 3 you have 2 weeks and then you have a deload, and then it's 3 more hard weeks. Body might fall, like start breaking down a little bit. Or if you're doing monthly programming, I would only do that like that last week. Because then it's 2 weeks. I can see the point. I don't know if you get enough stimulus before the deload to then come back and get the optimal result you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. I think 3 is a bit fast, but towards the end, like towards the taper on the 100-mile race, I was doing a third.
Well, that's a whole different story.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's where my mind is at.
I was saying that's a whole different story.
We're talking about strength training, folks. Like my head is in endurance.
Well, like even I had an online client who just did a powerlifting meet. His last deload was probably 3 weeks before the meet, had 2 really hard weeks, and then week of the meet, he comes in, does a certain percentage squat, a bench, and a deadlift on 3 separate days on just let's keep you moving. Also, you come to the gym, you also warm up, you practice, and then you spend time stretching and everything so you feel good going into the meet. Technically, by all definition, that would count as a deload, but it's just the taper week.
Yeah, it's
so
taper week.
Yeah, it's becomes a little different when it's in a specific event versus a training cycle.
Yeah. Do you think that yeah, I think you're right, cuz in my mind I'm thinking endurance. I wasn't thinking strength. Yeah, I do think you're right. I think that 3
basic
is
principles they can follow pretty close together. Like the people that are like, "Oh, endurance and strength are that far off." It's your modality is different, not your like science of training.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that so would you ever change the deload based on like what you're getting from your client? My right eye is blurry. I think I'm losing vision in my right eye. Like it is blurry and fucked on the right side.
Is it because you're staring at the light?
No, I don't think so. Like I was trying to get concerned. Sorry,
Hey,
go
Kate,
ahead.
we're gonna need your advice in about 2 hours when you show up.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's getting this is getting crazy. Oh, she coming tonight?
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Kate is his wife.
Yeah.
uh, completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, so if I notice a client, and like it won't happen until probably 6 months in. If I notice a client isn't responding how I'd prefer from how I'm doing their deload, I'll take a slightly different approach on their deload. Like I know a couple, like I've had a couple athletes in the past that they don't respond well to the let me cut weight intensity. So like they've been training heavy. We're going to do a week that like everything's like 50 to 60%. So instead they'll stay at a little higher percentage and I'll drop down to like 2 sets for their main sets.
Yeah, and
Your eye is not doing okay.
no, dude, it's really not. Like it's crazy. It's gotten like now like it's gotten like blurry enough where it's like literally feels like there's a film on it and it can't it's like you can't wipe it off. Just literally is.
You need to rinse your eye out when we're done with this.
Yeah, dude, guys, I don't know what's going on with my eye. I have like a stress ulcer or like a cold ulcer, something on my eye, and it's causing one like pressure, but then two now it's like literally blurred vision.
Isn't an ulcer specifically in your guts?
Oh, I have no idea about the ulcer. Somebody said that. Somebody said that to me because like this morning I was like, they were like, "What's on your eye?" And I was like, it's like something, I don't know what it is. And they were like, "Oh, is that like a stress ulcer?" And I was like, "Can you get that on your eye?" And they're like, "Yeah."
I
And I
thought
was
that
like,
was just like in your intestines.
yeah, it's just like in your intestines, and your digestion. That's what I thought too.
I don't know.
I was like, maybe it shows up in your eye.
I'm not a real doctor, so
Yeah, right. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm a person. Trust me, I'm a personal trainer. Like, yeah, I don't know, folks. Look, I'm a professional motivator.
if he's wearing an eye patch next week, we all know why.
That is crazy. I am not going to be wearing an eye patch. We're going to get this sorted out. It's nothing.
You should just totally show up wearing an eye patch just for the podcast. So everyone's like, oh my God.
He lost a fucking eye. What the hell?
Wait, what?
This was caused, and I just like, this was caused by stress. Lost my eyesight. You motherfuckers. No. So any case, no, it's going to be just fine. But
He's most likely not losing his eye. It's
I
good.
think so. This is actually funny that this is the last one, by the way. So this is number 10. Stay mentally focused by visualizing. By visualizing successful lifts and setting realistic goals to keep your motivation high. So like, don't expect to be like lifting 1,000 pounds in the first week if right now you're at 100 pounds.
Yeah. But like also the whole visualizing thing. It's really common in like the weightlifting world on like visualizing like your lifts to a perfect T, because there's been enough science to be like visualization actually helps success. That said, that's about as far woo-woo as I can get.
Yeah.
There hits a certain point where I'm like, okay, but the first time I ever snatched 110 kilos, in my head, it was like, cool, I need to do this, and it looks like this. All right, cool. Do I have collars or do I have just straight weight? Just straight weight, cool. It looks like this, revisualize, go.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, it worked that time.
And if you can if you visualize, maybe you can use that as a utility. Because I remember when I was like heavily weightlifting, if I had like a bad day, like if like I had a bad day and I couldn't get my mind off the stressful parts of the day, like let's just say I had like a fight with the wife, or like somebody called me a bitch and I couldn't get it on my mind. And like I just got whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever happened that day that's just kind of on your mind. You have a bad day, you go in the gym. You might you might use something else for this, but visualization could be one of the things, is just to like, when you're lifting, get the lift on your mind, get the workout on your mind, be present. And if visualization helps you be present, because if your mind isn't on the lifts, then your lifting can become dangerous.
Or you're going to miss your lift.
Or you're going to miss your
I'd say the simplest, you're going to miss your lift. Like if you're not present in a max deadlift, which is hopefully only going to take like a few seconds. If it takes too long, I'm sorry. If you're not present, you're missing that lift. Like you need full attention in what you're doing. Or yeah, like you said, like it can become dangerous. You either miss, which is the best case scenario, or you start doing something weird, and all of a sudden, what I do to my back? It's like, well, you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Like that's where, as bad as this is going to be, that's where I've seen most injuries happen is for some reason they're not paying attention to what they're doing, and then all of a sudden something hurts. It's rarely ever like a freak accident.
And
They do happen, but
no, right, exactly. Like if you like hurt your back or something, you know, you put too much weight on the bar, or you not too much weight. You have a lot of weight on the bar. You're doing a fucking clean, or if you're doing even a back squat or just a deadlift, like, and you're thinking about you've got to get groceries afterwards. And you don't have time because like you got to go get the groceries, but also the wife is asking you to like take out the garbage, but then also like your kids got to get picked up from preschool, but then like also your boss is calling you. You have to like something due by like, and then you're like, and you were about to pick up a 500-pound barbell or like a fucking 100, but whatever, just a lot.
whatever's considered
Just whatever is considered heavy for you.
heavy's relative.
Heavy's relative. You might hurt yourself. So maybe if you're visualizing yourself do it, like that blocks out all the bullshit. Here, and by the way, folks, just also here's a good. You can try this right now. Take a big inhale, 3 seconds in. Exhale 3 seconds, and ask yourself, I wonder what my next thought will be. And this is a method that can be used to clear out like thoughts that are coming in at like a speed you can't control because you're not the one who's really controlling it, but you think you are, and that's what's causing you all this stress. And if you do that, that's something that has helped me so much is just to take a 3-second breath in, a 3-second breath out, and ask myself, I wonder what my next thought will be, because that puts you in a perspective that you really don't have any control over that next thought. And so you become the observer and not like the thing. You detach yourself from that, and it kind of allows you a little bit more freedom, then visualize your lift.
I mean, that's slightly left field. That's one of the reasons I love cold plunging.
Yeah.
You have to be present.
Yeah.
You don't really think about anything else until it's first, fuck. Second, it's catch your breath, breathe, just get to normal. And then after that, like you're just presence of like, cool, I feel everything going on. I'm still focused on my breathing. Cool, 3 minutes has passed. I can get the fuck out of the stub.
Yeah. Do you only do 3 minutes?
Most of the science says like anything past 3 minutes, like you're
just kind of like killing your body.
I mean, with the temperature of most cold plunges, you would need to be in for like, I think it's like 20 minutes for like hypothermia to kick in. But yes, because that's something I Googled because of a friend.
No, yeah, no, I've heard.
But it's not a max effort activity.
Yeah.
It's once you hit like this certain thing, you either don't get too much more benefit or it starts diminishing return.
Yeah.
So.
And there's so much awesome science around. I know this is a different podcast, but there's so much science around taking that cold plunge.
Yeah. And the best part is it happens whether you pay attention to it or not.
Yeah.
So I like the focus on being present in that part because I'll get the extra benefit whether just from existing in it. Same thing with the sauna. Like there's cool benefits of like heat shock proteins and all this. But that happens no matter what. That is a Huberman science thing. If you want that information, go listen to him.
Right.
I like that I'm choosing discomfort and that I'm forced to be present. So
100%. It's like an automated presence. You just get in that bitch and you're like,
oh yeah, especially the cold punch. It is a punch to the face. Like you're present. Focus. I'm like,
yeah, that's all you can do.
We got this.
And then you get out and it's like, holy shit. I used to do what's the temperature you're doing right now?
I'm pretty sure Matt has it set at like 45.
That's fucking cold, man.
45 is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
we were doing 55.
I've been in 33.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, 33 in the middle of winter in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So 29 degrees outside, 33. That tub is cold.
That's cold, man. Yeah, that's a 3 minute.
Yeah.
That's a 3 minute cold plunge, man.
Ooh, so there's a guy in St. Louis, Josh, he does like a big fire and ice thing. Like he has a big like barrel sauna on a trailer and brings tubs and like does fire and ice things. He'd be a good one. We should probably get you guys connected.
That would be awesome. I would love that. I would absolutely love
Either
that.
get him to talk or just get you to one of his things.
No, 100%. And
because randomly, not being from St. Louis, I know way too many people from St. Louis.
Yeah, 100%. Like both is the answer there. Both. It looks like we had somebody almost coming in. So in any case, that's that. And then what's a realistic goal? Keeping realistic goals. What is a realistic goal when it comes to strength?
I see him too.
He just looked like he was gonna turn back around and come back in. I was like, oh no. And you could probably see that on that
Oh,
guy.
and I
going
hope
by.
they can see that because
That guy was like doing twirls and shit. He almost came in the door. I was like,
he
I
had
didn't
a
lock
real
it.
big smile. He looked real happy.
Yeah, I did not lock the door. So I was like, oh, here we go. We're gonna catch this.
Realistic strength goal.
Let's just say you're novice. Week to week, month to month.
I mean, if you can add 10 pounds a month, you're doing great even as a novice. Once you become more like upper intermediate or advanced, like, you're looking at a couple of pounds on a training cycle. Like it does slow down, but that's where some of the fun comes.
Right, right.
Also along that way, like rep PRs become kind of an important thing. Like, what's my heaviest 8? What's my heaviest 5? What's my heaviest, like those then, so we're not just frequently testing ones.
Yeah.
Because like if your 5 rep goes up, your 1 rep probably went up.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And that makes sense on that scale. Do you believe in like the 1 rep estimator based on like, you know how you can do like you can estimate your 1 rep based on like your 5 rep max?
They've been decently accurate nowadays based on a 3 rep. Once you get 5 or above, like it gets a little wonky.
That's kind of strength endurance, isn't it?
Yeah. 8 is a little bit of a strength. 8 is still more hypertrophy, but once you get into like above, probably above like the 5 and above, it ends up skewing a little bit because there's some people that just like 5s get real gritty, and some people just have that like natural grit that doesn't present itself on a 1. So, but like even that, like even using 5s and 8s, like a 1 rep max calculator should get you within 15 pounds.
Gotcha.
So I've also seen some people who, based on a 1 rep max calculator, their squat or it was their deadlift should have been at like 520. And then when they were retested, it was 550. So they're not perfect.
Right. Yeah, and this probably does have something that it probably is more accurate. Just like all this stuff is like sometimes it's probably more accurate for some people, and then others it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn.
A little bit of art and science.
Well, there you have it, guys. That's the 10 ways to increase muscular strength and some reasons why people are not like, it's not working for some people. So thank you for listening in. Sean, thanks again for jumping back on the podcast, dude. Always.
Anytime.
Your resource for muscular strength building, my man right here, Sean Lane. And thank you everyone for chiming in. This was another episode of the Big Fitness Podcast. Do all that stuff, all those fucking, all those Instagram
Follow us on
influencers
Instagram.
tell you to do.
Also, we're on YouTube now. Please like, share, and follow.
Yeah.
I will be the resident influencer for Big Fitness because Jordan's just telling us to do random things.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Yeah. Hey, look, you do what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
You do what you got to do out here. It's the same thing with strength building. Look, it's all the same, man. It's like you got to just do what you got to do, man.
Intentional consistency and effort.
This is it. Like
that's the answer for everything.
Yeah, just don't give up. I think the last message is like, look, if you want to build strength, just don't give up. You're going to do it wrong a bunch. Find people, do things, don't stop doing them. Stay consistent in your efforts to try. And don't like there's two things that happen. Either one, you stop because it gets so hard and you never figure it out, or you never stop and then you eventually figure it out. Those are the only two types of people. So you will eventually figure it out if you just don't stop. So just if you want to get stronger, just keep trying. Just keep failing. Just keep learning. And eventually you'll win.
Yeah. It checks out.
All right, guys. And always remember, think big, live better. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.